No morning's complete without a cup of coffee. And that's what it's all about for me. Not professional, don't do this for a living. Any like little firearm or car restoration project is 100% a hobby. And I am not advising to anyone to listen to what I'm doing or do my way. But I just think it's kind of neat to share. Okay folks, cup of coffee workshop. We're restoring an antique Hopkins and Allen shotgun. I've done a few of these, and I used to do a lot of sanding. What I've discovered is, A, sanding's hard, and B, you end up with like little imperfections anyway. You don't want to take out all the pits, so you don't sand it down that far. So what I've started doing was just soaking it in muriatic acid, which dissolves most of the rust, and then hitting with a Scotch-Brite. Not Scotch-Brite, steel wool. And then, whatever little bits of clumps of rust there are, you can attack with some 400 grit paper, but there's just a couple of little spots rather than doing the entire thing, which is a lot faster. Then, for this time, I put them in a Ziploc bag with Brownell's rust bluing solution overnight, which is a first. And I wasn't sure how that was going to work out, but they seem pretty rusty. And I mean, as long as all that boils and turns blue, it should be pretty good. We'll see. Okay, folks. The shotgun pieces have gone into the boiling water, just straight water. On the first water bath, I put a little bit of degreaser. And then after that, I don't put it anymore. Just using straight tap water. I normally just use this little copper pot that I got here, but the action doesn't fit inside of it. So I'm boiling in here my next water bath, because I like to change them between the first one with the degreaser and the subsequent ones. Also, the first one kind of washes out a lot of the whatever rust particles, impurities, crap that's going on in there, dirt. Okay, so the parts just came out of the boiling water. Got little bits of rust caked up on them. Mostly a nice black color starting to develop. This is the first time in. After being left overnight in a Ziploc bag with some Brownell's rusting solution. However, I'm out of Brownell's rusting solution, but I got this Doc Hawkins slow rust bluing solution on eBay that works pretty well as well. I think the Brownell's is a little bit of a darker hue faster, but they both end up with the same product. Maybe it takes like one more round with this one. Anyway, so I'm gonna polish it off with some steel wool. Or not even polish, just kind of like knock off the loose rust. I'm going to give it another coating here with the Doc Hawkins. Then I'm going to go over here on my patented fast steaming rusting bench. Okay, just carded everything. And for the most part, it's like a little splotchy. But I mean, after layering up 3 or 4 more layers on it, I'm sure it'll get a lot nicer looking. Now the larger pieces, I'm going to do by hand with a cloth, rubbing on the milling solution. But this like pile of small parts I'm going to put in this cup here, in the Ziploc bag. I'm going to pour a little bluing solution in. I'm going to jostle them around. I'm going to pour the solution into another Ziploc bag. And then I'm going to take the parts and put them on the bluing shelf. Because I've tried bluing little bits like this. It's really difficult to get them all covered in the bluing solution. You put them in this little bag, you just tumbling, and they all get a nice thin layer. Then you just drain the solution into another bag for the next one, and they're good to go. Just came out of the bag. There's the remainder of the solution. Now they're over here. Okay, here they are on the steam table. Starting to get a fine coating of rust on some of them. Some of them not quite yet. Use a little tiny piece of paper towel for these tiny ones that would fall right through. And then in like 20 minutes I'll turn them over and then 20 minutes later I'll boil them and we can go again. Maybe like a half an hour you can boil it. 30 minutes. So every hour you can get another round of bluing. So in like 2 or 3 hours you can get 3 or 4 coats. Okay, it's been a few minutes. I think we're rusty enough. I'm going to bring the water back to a rapid boil and throw them all into one of the pans. And then repeat. Probably 2 or 3 more times. Yeah, that's round 2. Right out of the water. You know, a little bit more even. A little bit darker. Gonna give it another steel wool. Another shake in a bag. And another round on the steam table. Alright, shaken in the bag again, carded first, and back onto the rusting rack. Okay, here's the third boil. As things start getting rusty enough, I'm going to start depositing them into the water to boil. And like, every few minutes, just give everything a turn so that each side rusts evenly. This one, it was getting a little splotchy, so I wanted to just stop halfway through and just rub a little bit more on to try and get it to be a little bit more even. So yesterday, I took the broken stock, it had a bunch of cracks in it, and I just put a bunch, I first dipped it in muriatic acid to dissolve any oils that were on it. Then I boiled it in water, tap water, for about 10 minutes. Just the end that was cracked, and then I spread the cracks open by sliding a knife into them, this junky knife that I have here, and then I filled them with Gorilla Glue, and then I used electrical tape, stretching it as I wrapped it around to hold the glue in the cracks, as well as squeeze everything together. Let's see how that came out. Alright, here it is. So you can see there was a considerable amount of cracking. But I think the Gorilla Glue alone is as strong as the wood probably would have been. However, I'm going to also put a pin through here behind the butt plate. Probably like a countersunk threaded rod, stainless steel with a couple of nuts or something. Maybe just pins that are glued, maybe just stainless steel pins that are glued, I'm not sure. But something through that's going to squeeze it all together so it's got a little bit more than just the glue holding it together. I'll do one up here because it was completely split. I'll probably do one toward the back too. So it's got 2 pins going through. Just anywhere there's not already a hole, so I don't have a pin going through something and blocking something. Alright, here's the results of the third round. I think, third or fourth, third maybe. It's all pretty black now. I'm going to switch to a finer steel wool. And the parts that no one's going to see, the internal parts, are finished. The parts that are going to be visible, trigger guard, trigger group, you know, side plates, any screws that are on the outside, will go 1 or 2 more times. But having less stuff to scrub and work with is going to make this a lot faster. Okay, so now just these pieces are going to continue for 1 or 2 more rounds. And all these little internal parts and springs and whistles and bells and stuff are going to get carted off 1 more time and go into another Ziploc bag, this one with some mineral oil inside of it. And just like that, we're on to the final boil. All the hardware is over here in the bag. With the oil, you'll find it turns a lot darker still when you oil it. Remember the first thing that I did with the rust bluing, I didn't realize that was going to happen. So I did like 20 rounds, and then the item came out, and it was a blunderbuss, and it was so black. And there we are post-carding. I just tumbled them around in the oil bag, get them all nice and oily. And there's the end result. It took 2 hours, and we got a traditional rust blue finish on these parts, and it came out it's a little oil soaked. It came out pretty nice. And like the morning coffee workshop can only run until 12:30. And I thought I was gonna have time to put this together today. But at least the finishes are done. And the next time I have some time in the morning, I can just put it back together. So I put the fore end back on because it goes on just 2 screws, and it really came out pretty nice, especially for the amount of work that I put into it, which is extremely little. You know, I used to do a lot more prep and got, I don't know, arguably maybe better results on some of the items, maybe not, and you know, do less until you have to do more. The only thing I did notice is a little bit on this handle here. It's a little bit light. Like maybe I should redo that. But what I'm thinking is this thing is gonna be resting right there anyway, essentially covering that. So maybe I just won't even do anything. I'll do a little tiny bit of cold bluing back there, maybe, I don't know. Look at this. It turns forever. Terrible. More on that next time. Okay, now we're trying to press back in these springs and hammers. That pin has got to go through that hole. I'm trying to use this brass fitting with a clamp to press in. Okay, I got both of the springs and hammers back in, which was, the first one took a little figuring out, the second one went pretty easy. I had to put a piece of cork on the top of the hammer, keep it from moving up as I pressed it in. I pressed in the big old C-clamp and a piece of brass. I drew a little line on it with a Sharpie marker so I could see where it needed to be so the pin could be driven in. And I drove it in. And on the other side, same thing. The other side I had already set it all up for the first side, so I knew what I was doing. Or, you know, had my system. Okay, here's the final result. For the action in the all-in-one day bluing and the night-long rust bluing in a Ziploc bag, and yeah, I think it came out pretty good for this 100-year-old Hopkins and Allen 1915. But the lever, the screw is stripped, so I'll have to do something about that later. But it seems like everything else is working. You know, without actually testing it. I'm gonna go grab the barrel in a second, lock it on there and see what we got. Okay, I put it together. I cocked it. It fires. The fore end's a little loose fitting, but I can do some bending on stuff in there to get it to fit a little, snap it a little tighter. And the action doesn't lock up super tight, but you know, some shimming and stuff. Then you have stock's all broken. I have to add some wood here and some pins going through it, hold it together.